Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to... Sorry? Yeah, I forgot the name of our show for a sec. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to No Timeouts, a football show coming at you from the Score Studio. My name is Jonah Birenbaum. That is Dan Wilkins. That is Zach McDonald. That is Justin Boone. You know them. You love them. Our pal T-Mac is not here today because he is on the ground in New Orleans taking in the sights and sounds of Super Bowl week. We are all very jealous, but gentlemen.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Must have gotten lost in the mail. However, it's time. Super Bowl 59 is now just days away. My girlfriend, who is not a football fan, she has a saying. She says, it's always the Super Bowl. She is convinced every Sunday when I'm watching football, it's the Super Bowl. And you know what? This Sunday, for the first and only time this year, she's going to be right.
All right.
I'm fired up. You're fired up. Everybody knows the storylines at this point. The Kansas City Chiefs are going for an unprecedented Super Bowl three-peat. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they're looking to exact some revenge for their loss to Kansas City in Super Bowl 57. Now, we talked about this briefly on last week's show, but it's a big old question, and I think it warrants further discussion and is really the only appropriate starting place for today's episode. Boone, does a win make the Kansas City Chiefs the greatest dynasty in NFL history?
Absolutely. I mean, they're already in the conversation as the greatest dynasty. You look at just like since Patrick Mahomes has taken over as the starter, it's 7 straight AFC Championship appearances. It's 5 trips to the Super Bowl. If they win this week, it's going to be 4 Super Bowls and the first team ever to win 3 in a row. You have Mahomes, who is going to be in the conversation for best quarterback of all time. You have Andy Reid, who is one of the best coaches of all time. And they're not even done yet. Like, regardless of what happens this week, they're going to be in the mix for a long time. So, yes, absolutely. If they get the win this weekend, they are the greatest dynasty the NFL has ever seen.
Any rebuttal? I don't think that...
There's no team that's even done, like, there's no team that's done this, like, win 2 Super Bowls and go to a third Super Bowl, right? Like, are they the first team that's ever done that as well? Like that, because I don't know. I don't think that there is. I think they might be the only team that's already done this.
Yeah, you look at like the Patriots obviously are in the conversation and they were good for a long time. You look back to like Vince Lombardi's Packers in like the 60s or
pre-merger,
some of those Steelers teams in the 70s. Like,
And the mark of a great dynasty is like when there are just like all these people that are going to have their legacies tarnished by you, like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. They are going to be looked upon negatively for their careers because one of those guys isn't getting a championship ring, and it's all because of the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But yeah, I mean, the second team in NFL history to potentially win 4 in a 6-year span, along with those Steelers of the 70s. The first team ever to go to 5 Super Bowls in a 6-year span. Like, it's stupid. And like, maybe this isn't the right way to analyze it, but like, I think I would take the Chiefs at their peak over Brady's Patriots at their peak.
Yeah, it's crazy that the discourse has gotten to this point where it's like, the 4 of us are sitting here like, is this the greatest dynasty ever? And we're all like, well, yeah. Like, we got nothing to say.
Yeah, I guess recency bias comes into play a little bit, but they just feel more inevitable than the Patriots to me. Maybe that's because we had the long stretch in between Patriots Super Bowls.
They went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like, can you see that happening to the Chiefs at this point? I can. I mean, maybe it happens if Andy Reid were to retire at some point in the next few years and Kelsey's gone. Maybe it looks a little different, but it's tough to see at this point. Like, no matter what happens in this game, everyone's going to be predicting the Chiefs to be back in the Super Bowl next year, and that kind of speaks to how amazing they've been.
And if the standard for the NFL's Supreme Dynasty is 6 Super Bowl titles in an 18-year span, the Chiefs have ample opportunity to make that happen.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable. And look, ultimately, whether you think a victory makes the Chiefs the greatest dynasty in NFL history or makes them the second greatest dynasty in NFL history, the bottom line is, if they win, they are in truly rarefied air. They would secure a singular place in football history. So perhaps the more interesting question is, what would a win mean for the Philadelphia Eagles? This is a team that has been one of the best teams in football now for 2.5 of the last 3 years. If they win, that I think is an extremely meaningful victory, knocking off, a Chiefs team that's bidding for history, but also they look poised to be really good for a long time, don't they, Wilk?
Yeah, I think that this is a really interesting game in terms of stakes from the Eagles' perspective. I mean, of course they want revenge for what happened 2 years ago. I think Jalen Hurts probably played the best game of his career, and they should have won that game. But again, as we know, that's easier said than done against a team like the Chiefs. But they're back here only 2 years later, they've got another shot at it. And while Hurts isn't playing quite as well as he did back then, I think that the additions of guys like Saquon Barkley, among others that we can talk about later, have really made this a lot better team than the one that took on the Chiefs last time. So, I mean, the way that I see it is that this Eagles defense, or this Eagles team, the way it's been constructed by Howie Roseman, it just has that opportunity to, if with a win, become that team that really establishes its own run of success. You know, they may have to play the Chiefs again multiple times, so we can't get too ahead of ourselves, but they're just built so well. They have the best offensive line in football in my mind, superstars at all the skill positions on offense, and on defense, just so many young pieces that are built for success in the long term. You have Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinion Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean, all within their first 2 years that are legitimate Pro Bowl talents. So to me, this team just has a real chance to sustain success in ways that most other teams don't have another opportunity to do. Just the rub with that is, if you lose this game, you know, we've seen singular Super Bowl losses be enough to knock off a team before, and teams that we thought were really good just kind of fall off a cliff losing one game. I mean, it almost happened to the Eagles a couple of years ago. They lost that game to the Chiefs and just it almost went off the rails last year. They obviously got it back on tracks, and they're back here now, so all is good. But if they lose this game, losing to the same team in 2 Super Bowl appearances in a row, that's kind of a gut punch. Maybe you find a 2010s Patriots type path out of that. You hope you avoid a 1990s Bills type path out of that. Sorry, Boone. Okay. But, I mean, that could be a tough thing to overcome. I think that the Eagles have a really good chance to take down the Chiefs. They're better equipped than any other team, but I don't know, man. The Chiefs are going to be a tough team to beat.
Dude, there's a really crazy and unique cognitive dissonance going on, because I don't recall a circumstance where there was a clear case of one team being objectively better on paper. I think it's safe to say that the Eagles, on paper, are a better team than Kansas City. They had a better offense, they had a better defense, and yet
does it matter?
No one thinks they're the favorite.
Yeah.
No one can, in good conscience, pick Philadelphia to beat Kansas City. It's crazy. I can't remember another case like that. Anyways, one of the fun things for football fans that have no rooting interest in the Super Bowl is watching players, individual players that they like, try to bolster their legacies in the Super Bowl. Players who may be on opposite sides of the field. Zach, who are some players, individual players, that you're rooting for in Super Bowl 59?
Well, this is what I always do when I go into the Super Bowl. I'm always trying to think of, I want to go into the game so that I have a justification for either team. If they win, that I can be happy about something. I want to leave watching football happy. And you do have
You're
some
a Jets
guys.
fan, right?
Yeah.
It's a rare feeling for him to.
Yeah.
See what you're going for.
These are the kind of justifications Jets fans have to go through. It's a lot of mental gymnastics. But we do have some guys on the Chiefs. Number one is DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah,
I think everybody would like to see DeAndre Hopkins win a championship. He went to the Texans. He was so great. He's got like 12,000 career receiving yards. He's been so good. He's been on a lot of bad teams. He maybe not at his peak right now, not the best DeAndre Hopkins we've seen, but the opportunity to see him lift that Lombardi, go off into retirement happy, like that would be amazing to see. Another one for the Chiefs, and maybe I'm alone on this one. I kind of want to see Carson Wentz win a Super Bowl against the Eagles.
Another one?
Yeah. I like the idea of Carson Wentz being the ultimate backup quarterback to win Super Bowls. Like, you don't want him playing in the game, but you just want him around the game. I think that would be really fun. On the Eagles side, they have Darius Slay, who's either 35 or turning 35, and he's still playing at a super high level at cornerback, which is really, really rare. You know, I think he's got like quarterbacks against him have like a 66 passer rating. They complete under 50% of their throws against him. It's really cool to see that, especially a guy that was with the Lions before the Dan Campbell days for so long, going through all that, winning a Super Bowl. And finally, I think Jalen Hurts. I would really like to see Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl. I love any time a quarterback gets entered into that discussion. I hate the discourse around quarterbacks that's like, I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen's so fun. You're having fun talking about him. Like, but he's never won a Super Bowl. Yeah. I hate that kind of conversation. So just to be able to have Jalen win that Super Bowl and just be able to talk about him without having that caveat, and also a guy you saw at Alabama get benched before the Super Bowl happened for Tua back in the day. It would be really cool to see him get some redemption and be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Seems like a great guy.
I think one guy I will add, in fairness, he already has a Super Bowl, so it's not like it would be a first-time winner, but it would be really cool to see Brandon Graham win this because we thought he was going to miss the rest of the season, but he's been working his way back. It looks like he's going to play in the Super Bowl. He said this is probably going to be his last game.
Right,
so he's fighting his way back to play in this game to win one more Super Bowl for the Eagles.
And he's like the spiritual leader for their team. Like,
yeah.
he is the guy. Like, they look to him.
So that would be cool for them. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of guys in this game to cheer for if you can't like muster up the courage to cheer for either the Chiefs or the Eagles, which
is so
It'd also be
fair.
nice to see something good happen to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
They deserve it, man. They've really been waiting a long time. I don't think I fully appreciated how accomplished DeAndre Hopkins was. Like, he's top 21 all time in both receiving yards and receptions. And another thing that kind of boggled my mind in researching that, there are so many like pantheon wide receivers who never won a Super Bowl. Randy Moss never won a Super Bowl. Terrell Owens never won a Super Bowl.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I will say that there's been so not to always bring this back to the running backs conversation, as I always like to do, but for a long time, one of the criticisms of, investing in a running back or the value of running backs was that elite running backs rarely won the Super Bowl. Like the only time ever that a 2,000-yard running back has won the Super Bowl was Terrell Davis in '98 or whatever it was. So Saquon Barkley could be the first since TD to do that.
That's wild.
It would be a cool story. It would be kind of like a sign of the times how the running back or the running game is coming back. I personally would enjoy that, but we'll see what happens.
And that was the year Terrell Davis went absolutely bananas in the Super Bowl, won Super Bowl MVP, wasn't it?
You know what? I was like 6 years old at the time, so I cannot
Save
confirm.
trivia for the end of the
I thought you
show.
were an expert. I thought you were an expert. All right, speaking of players who are desperate to win a Super Bowl, there's one who's not playing on Sunday that we need to talk about. Myles Garrett, the four-time All-Pro who has spent his entire career with the Browns. He wants out of Cleveland. He has formally requested a trade, and who could blame him? Wilkie, how do you see this shaking out for Garrett and the Browns?
I mean, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I mean, to your point, first of all, you cannot blame him. This has gone spectacularly poorly. To his credit, he wanted to be the guy that stayed there and played out his entire career in Cleveland, just like Joe Thomas did. He said as recently as last year that was the plan, but it was a really rough haul for the Browns in this past season. You could tell he was kind of changing his tune toward the end of the season. He kind of hinted that ownership was going to need to show him some sort of plan moving forward. And then, as you said, this past week, he officially announced, in what I think was a surprise to most, just kind of released a statement saying, I want out. And can you really blame him? I personally love when players do get the opportunity to play their entire career with one team. I think it's really cool, but that has to be within reason, right? The team has to give them some reason to stay, and the Browns have not done that. And to me, this all comes back to the Deshaun Watson trade, as everything does with the Browns. You take that risk on him. It fails so spectacularly. It sets your franchise back so far. Not only do they not have a quarterback now, but this roster, which was once looking pretty promising. I think the whole idea with the Browns getting Deshaun Watson was it was supposed to put an exciting team over the top. Now they look like a roster that has had 3 years of not having a first-round pick. They also have the cap situation that is not going away over the next 2 years. He's $72 million on the books each year, fully guaranteed. He's not going to play. I don't think they'd want him to play anyway because he's so bad. It's just such a rough situation. I don't see it getting better for as long as Watson is on the books, so not at least until 2027. And at that point, they probably still need time to build up the roster. So Garrett's 29 years old. He does not have time to wait around. I can definitely see why he wants a trade. The Browns could probably benefit from getting some premium picks for him, but it should be noted that trading him is not that easy. The cap situation is so bad that it would get even worse by trading Myles Garrett. So I don't know what the way out of this is. It's a bad situation, and it has the potential to get pretty ugly.
It's like the most ethical trade request that's ever existed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so fair.
It's like the first ever time where a player's like, I want to be traded out of town, and everybody is like, yes, I agree.
I think even Browns fans are probably like, yeah, we get it. I mean, I think Browns fans probably want out too at this point. So
I like that he doubled down after releasing the statement. He hit Radio Row at the Super Bowl and just did a bunch of interviews, just being like, "No, I definitely want out."
What do we think for landing spots? Like, I mean, I see a lot of people make the connection to the Commanders. It makes sense. They have a ton of cap space, but I will caution here. Everyone's going to identify the Super Bowl candidates, right? All those teams that have been in it over the last 2 weeks. But to me, Myles Garrett's the type of player that if you have a top 15 pick and you think that you could reasonably compete for a Super Bowl within the next 2 years. I don't know why you wouldn't put that forward, and a team like the Commanders can't compete with that. So I'm looking at aggressive teams like, could the 49ers kind of I mean, they've always been aggressive with the cap. You know, they've been trying to dump guys like Debo over the last few years to open up more space. Could they do it, pair him with Nick Bosa and get that defense back on track? Again, obviously the most interesting spots are those top Super Bowl contenders, the teams who have been in it over the last few weeks, but I wouldn't rule out a team with an early pick saying, look, this is the type of player that doesn't become available often. Let's go get him.
Now, one more trade-related item before we get back to Super Bowl stuff. Cooper Kupp, veteran wide receiver who spent his entire career with the LA Rams, won Offensive Player of the Year in 2021, won a Super Bowl with the Rams. He was Super Bowl MVP. He announced on X earlier this week that the Rams have informed him they're trying to trade him. They just came right out and say it. Kupp has been a useful player over the last few seasons as he's dealt with injuries. Not the superstar that he was in 2021, but still useful. However, Boone, you think that trading for Kupp, if you're a team with a need at wide receiver, would be a mistake?
I'm just worried because I think we've seen a lot of teams recently go out and get some of these receivers that are over 30 and it not really working out, right? Like, think about Amari Cooper going to the Bills. Think about DeAndre Hopkins, for all the nice things we're saying about him. Hasn't really done that much when he went to the Chiefs. There's other examples as well. And when you look at Kupp, he's just not the same player at this point in his career. He's missed at least 4 games, 3 straight seasons. He's going to be 32 years old this year. Once Puka came back this season, in the second half of the year, Kupp's numbers just fell off. And it wasn't just the production. It was like earning targets fell off as well. Over his last 5 games, you include the playoffs, 4 of his last 5, he had 3 targets or less. And he was a guy that was essentially built on volume for the longest time. And when you look at his entire career, I was actually kind of surprised by this. He's only topped 1,000 yards twice. He hasn't topped 820 yards since that 2021 season when, of course, he had over 1,900 yards. And I think that's what everyone's still remembering. And that's what I want to caution NFL GMs against. You think of the player like that. You think of that big season, but it's been a while since we've seen that. And he's dealt with injuries for many years. He is not the same player. And yet I know there's NFL GMs out there that are going to see that name and are going to want to make that trade because they're going to think of what the press release looks like and, you know, what some of the headlines they'll get from it. I don't think he's the same player, and you take him away from his buddy, Matt Stafford. You take him away from Sean McVay. I think if you're going to give up anything significant, if you're going to give up like a 4th-round pick or better for him, I think it would be a huge mistake.
A 4th-round pick? You don't think Cooper Kupp's worth a 4th round
pick? At this point in his
pick?
career, I don't think so. You'll get a few good games from him if that's all you need. You want him to be your 3rd receiver or something. But I don't think he's going to be a quality top 2 receiver on an NFL team at this point.
I
I don't
100%
think 4th round picks that valuable.
I agree with the outlook on Kupp. I don't think he's like as exciting of a trade asset as he's probably going to be made out to be in this offseason. But I'm kind of with you that I think that the price tag will probably be in the range of a 4th round pick. Maybe less. The reason being, like, you look at Devontae Adams got traded mid-season. That ended up being a 3rd-round pick. So you start there, a guy who has not been productive over the last few periods. Devontae is still a very good receiver. So
I would rather have Devontae than Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, agreed, for sure.
To me, I think that this could easily end up looking like a pick swap, like a 4th-round pick for like Kupp and a 6th. Like, and it's going to be another one of those trades that does not. It looks weird. Like,
yeah.
Fans from other sports are going to be like, what is this with NFL trades? But it's kind of a result of the production that you've been talking about. Again, only 2 career 1,000-yard receiving seasons. I mean, good player, don't get me wrong, but I think that at this point, GMs do have to be cautious, and I think that they will be.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not a knock on his whole career.
No, of
this
course.
is just
No,
talking
no,
about
no.
what kind of player he is now.
But I think if you're a team, here would be the issue. The issue would be if you're a team that's looking for a number 1 wide receiver, like if you're like the Packers and they're like, we need an alpha, and you get Cooper Kupp. I think that's a bad move. If you have an alpha and you're saying we want Cooper Kupp in the mix, we'll give you a 4th round pick for a backup safety, which is going to be like a backup safety that's never going to play in the NFL. And we're going to have him in the slot. We're going to try and use him that way. And he has 3 or 4 really good games. Like, I think that could be really good value for a 4th round pick.
I think he could be a good guy to add alongside a young quarterback. So you look at a team like maybe the Patriots giving up like a
How about the
early
Cowboys?
day 3 pick.
How about the Cowboys? Like, you're telling me
Too cheap. He still has a big salary though too, right? They don't like inheriting that type of salary. So like a team like the Patriots who could help a young guy grow, like Drake May, who needs a receiver. Of course, I think they'd aim higher. They probably want to sign a T Higgins, but I don't know. Maybe you could do both. They have a ton of cap space, so I think that might be the
Just
type
remember,
of team you're looking
32 years old, and he's missed at least 4 games each of the last 3 seasons. And when you get those like soft tissue injuries at his age, they don't get better normally. They keep coming more often. So I think it'll be a problem.
Top 24 fantasy wide receiver next season or no?
Oh, I think I have him outside of like my top 36.
Really? He's not even a wide receiver 3?
Yes, correct.
Wow. All right.
The Cooper Kupp hate is just it's
No,
outrageous.
no,
this is what
that's
happens
a
when this guy got drafted too. When he got drafted, I remember whenever he got picked like in the second round, everybody's like, Cooper Kupp, this guy's gonna be amazing. And everybody's like, well, we'll draft all these other guys like ahead of him, and he fell to like the 4th round. And it's like, hey, Cooper Kupp's good. He's a good football player. He's still gonna be good. It's a 4th round pick. He's gonna be a 4th round pick again to get Cooper Kupp. Everybody's got the opportunity.
For the most part, I agree. Cooper Kupp is a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Wow. I was going to say like a Minnesota Viking as like a compliment to Justin Jefferson, or maybe in Cincinnati to replace T. Higgins. I don't know. Anyways, that's enough non-Super Bowl talk, okay? On last week's show, I promised we'd get into the nitty-gritty of the Super Bowl 59 matchup, and I am nothing if not a man of my word. So let's break down Chiefs and Eagles position group by position group and try to suss out which team has the edge in certain areas. We'd be remiss if we didn't start with the most important position on the field, the quarterback position, Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. Zach, I'm pretty sure I know which way you're leaning, but which team has the edge at the quarterback position?
Well, the Eagles. No.
Clip it there.
The Chiefs have the advantage at the quarterback position. The Chiefs would have the advantage at the quarterback position if you went in a time machine and got Sammy Baugh or Fran Tarkenton, Johnny Unitas, Earl Morrall, Dan Marino, John Elway, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Shane Falco, Matt Saracen, Stephen Willie Beeman. It doesn't matter who you got.
Wow.
It doesn't matter who they put out. Patrick Mahomes, the only guy that could compete with him is a guy calling the game in the booth. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes, and it's not a little advantage. It is a massive advantage. Patrick Mahomes is so much better than Jalen Hurts, who is a good quarterback. It is a massive, massive gap between the two of those guys. He's the best in the game cerebrally. He's the best in the game physically. He beats him in every category.
I like that you were so emphatic about it, because I'm a little bit worried how many categories here the Chiefs are actually going to win. I think the Eagles are going to take a lot of these, but let's see.
But
not all categories are created equal.
We got to weigh them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, he's the greatest playoff quarterback of all time by QB rating, among quarterbacks with 6 or more games played. He is tops. Since the start of this potential three-peat run started in 2022, he has a 15-1 touchdown interception ratio in the playoffs. He's Patrick Mahomes. Wilkie, and again, we've got another position at which there isn't much debate or mystery. Which team has the superior running backs?
Yeah, this is not close. It's Saquon Barkley, one of the best running back seasons of all time, I think, and he's got a chance to cap it with a Super Bowl. Just on the other side, I know a lot of people like Isaiah Pacheco, good player to me, but I think expectations were a little out of whack with him coming back from the broken leg. Guys coming back from that in the same season, it usually doesn't go well. It takes some time to get the explosiveness back. So Kareem Hunt has kind of still been the guy there. And as we know, not a very explosive player. And that Chiefs run game has kind of taken a step back ever since they've had to move Joe Thuney out to left tackle. The interior 3 is not quite the same. So I think that this game is going to be all about the passing game for the Chiefs, which, again, may not be a bad thing because Mahomes can do anything. But I think that it's a huge advantage for the Eagles in the run game.
Yeah, and I mean, I just don't think you can overstate how insane Saquon has been this year. Like, the volume and the efficiency between the regular season and the playoffs, he's had over 450 touches, and he's averaged 6 yards per touch. In the playoffs, he's been absolutely insane, like almost 7 yards per carry, almost 150 yards per game. Like, this is historic stuff.
We need a live shot of John Mara watching this game from the Giants facility.
Just like, wow, R.I.P.
Also, watch out for, I've said it last week, I'll say it again, Patrick Mahomes rushing prop, 29.5 yards. Watch out for that one.
Easy over.
He's never had less than 29 yards rushing in a Super Bowl. That's where the running game comes in when it comes to the playoffs.
There you go. Boone, which team has the better pass catchers, wide receivers, and tight ends?
I think this one would be a lot more interesting if Rashee Rice was healthy. Yeah. If he was out there, then maybe we could make an argument for the Chiefs, or at least it would be a little bit closer, because Kelsey's done exactly what we thought, right? Kind of quieter in the regular season, but he's certainly come on in the playoffs. Xavier Worthy started to come on, the rookie, and like the Chiefs kind of do as the year goes by, they progress and get more involved, and he's been pretty good. DeAndre Hopkins, not to keep knocking on him, but
one reception in the playoffs.
Not the same player, clearly. So you look at that name, but it's not really moving the needle. And then you look at the other side, and you have a superstar number one in AJ Brown. You have one of the best number two receivers in the league in Devonta Smith. You have Dallas Goedert at tight end, who I think is better than his numbers really show. Like, if you took him and put him in the Travis Kelce role, he'd have really good stats. Like,
he's been doing Travis Kelce this playoff. He's like tied for the Eagles' lead in targets, and he's leading in receptions and yards.
Yeah, when he was taking over for Zach Ertz a few years ago, I think we were all really excited, and then he got stuck behind these two really good receivers, and it's tough for him to put up consistent numbers. But yeah, he is a very good tight end, so we got to give it to the Eagles here.
Yeah. Wilk, offensive line, which team has the better one?
The Chiefs are quite good, but like I said earlier, when they've had to move Joe Thuney to left tackle, it's created some problems on the interior, and the Eagles with their pass rush, they could go line up Jalen Carter over left guard, and he could really wreck the game. The Eagles, to me, have the best offensive line in the league. I do think that Chris Jones can kind of get his wherever he's lined up. Like, he's going to go a lot against Mekhi Becton, so he could impact the game as well. But just across the board, I think the Eagles have the best offensive tackle tandem in the league, and the interior is incredible. So, this is what fuels the ground game, and really it's what allows the passing game to be as productive as it has been, despite some struggles from Jalen Hurts throughout the year. I think it was it the Commanders game on the first drive where he just had like 8 seconds to throw a touchdown. But that's kind of the world you live in with this Eagles offensive line sometimes. So it creates such an advantage in them in most matchups.
What do you make of the fact that Hurts has been sacked 11 times this postseason?
He's not great against pressure. They do have some issues on the interior offensive line for sure. Like, the pass protection in particular has not been great. I think Mekhi Becton has had some struggles. So again, that is something that Chris Jones could exploit. But the main advantage is in the run game. But there are some things that they need to address in pass protection, because Jalen Hurts has not been good at compensating for that this year.
All right, other side of the field, defensive line. Zachy, which team has the better one?
I'm also going to say the Eagles for this one. The Eagles are top 10 in like every significant like win rate category for the defensive line, and they got the two Georgia Bulldogs in the middle. Jalen Carter is just like an absolute beast. This is where I've been calling them the Angry Birds, and like that's how they play. Like, they're just they Howie Roseman does such a good job of building a team. Like, he just knows what to do, and he gets these big, physical, dominant guys in the middle of the line to come and wreak havoc. The Chiefs have Chris Jones, though, and he's probably, I still think, the best defensive player in the entire game, in this entire game. Maybe Chris Jones is, even though he's regarded so well, he is still underrated. Like, he is, like, he can take over games. He puts on these incredible performances, especially in these like big moments. I think like in the AFC Championship when the Chiefs were about to win, I saw him crying on the sidelines, and that just tells you everything about who Chris Jones is and how much he loves to win and how important this three-peat is to him. Yeah. And when he looks at the Chiefs dynasty, he sees himself right there with Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid and him. He considers himself as big a part of that.
Yeah, his knack for making a big play in the big moment every single time really just makes him like the Chiefs' defensive Patrick Mahomes. It's incredible. I don't know what else to say about Chris Jones. He does not get enough credit for how amazing he is.
Yeah. I wonder how much more of a household name he would be if his name wasn't Chris Jones. If he had like a cooler name, everybody would know him
It's
more.
pretty generic. But ultimately, you're leaning Eagles for defensive line.
I'm leaning Eagles.
Okay.
The Eagles, like I said, they also have the kind of platoon pass rusher situation that I love when teams go with that. You're getting guys fresh in. You're able to like identify which matchups are going to win. Yeah. So they can just do everything. They can rush a passer. They're the Angry Birds. They're getting mean. They're going to stuff the run. The Chiefs aren't going to be able to run. That's why it's going to be on Patrick Mahomes to kind of get out there. But I'll give the edge to the Eagles again.
All right. Linebackers, Boone?
Eagles are getting linebacker. Zach Bond, an all-pro, PFF's number one ranked linebacker. Oren Burks, not that far behind. Yeah. He's number 6 on PFF's grading. And they're making big plays, too. They're forcing fumbles. You have Bond and you have Nolan Smith getting sacks. I think they have 4 sacks through the playoffs so far. I think we have to go with them here. It's a pretty impressive group.
Defensive backs, corners, and safeties. Wilk?
This one's a little closer. I mean, especially since the Chiefs got Jalen Watson back alongside Trent McDuffie. They've got a nice tandem. But
so good.
I just love the young guys in the Eagles secondary. Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been so good. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's been good in his return to Philly. So I think the advantage goes to them there too. So like we said, the Eagles have a lot of advantages across the board on paper. They're the better team.
That turnover differential in the playoffs is really telling, I think.
Yep.
Plus 10 for the Eagles. They haven't given
Yep.
the ball away once, and they've generated 10
Yep.
defensive turnovers. It's just ridiculous.
You do kind of assume that the Chiefs probably won't be fumbling opportunities away like other teams have been.
Yes.
It's the Chiefs, but you never know.
Still. Kickers. Zach, which team has the edge?
The Chiefs actually, they win one.
All right.
The Chiefs have a huge edge in kickers. Jake Elliott for the Eagles has been really bad. He sucks. He's not been good. It's that thing, kickers, they fall off a cliff, and he's kind of fallen off the cliff this year. He's kicking, I think, 77% from field goals. And like if you type his name into Twitter, he's like one of those guys that like Eagles fans are like just like cursing to like the high heavens or like.
To be clear, I think Eagles fans hate all their players at various times.
That's fair.
But he's struggled.
And then Harrison Butker is like, the guy doesn't have to lift a finger around the house. He's got lots of time to learn how to be a good kicker. So he's always doing things right. He's been in all these Super Bowl situations. He's super clutch. He's great. He's locked in. He's one of the best kickers probably of all time. So
3-time Super Bowl champ, hasn't missed a kick in the playoffs since 2022. He's 15 for 15 in field goals, hasn't missed an extra point, and he's 2 for 2 in field goal attempts from 50 yards or greater over that span. He really gets it done in the big games, which brings us to the last area of the field, coaching. Boone, who has the edge?
The Chiefs are going to finish strong here. We're going to give it to the Chiefs,
right.
of course. Andy Reid, like I said before, one of the best out there. Steve Spagnuolo, one of the best defensive coordinators out there. I'm not a big Nick Sirianni fan. I've been pretty clear about that this year. I do have a lot of respect for the coordinators on the Eagles side, but you got to give it to Reid and Spagnuolo.
Yep.
So just a quick accounting, it kind of supports what I was saying earlier. The Eagles on paper are the superior team. And yet, here we are. And we'll get to our predictions a little bit later on, but there isn't a ton of belief amongst this crew
but if you go
that
through-
the better team on paper is going to win.
if you go through history and look at when teams have the advantage at quarterback and head coach, how those teams do, those are the two most important categories on the entire list.
Certainly.
We could have done this tail of the tape before the Ravens Bills game. At the end of the day, it comes down to the quarterbacks and. Man, in the playoffs and especially the Super Bowl, Mahomes just always gets it done. Inevitable.
All right. Now, one of the highlights of the Super Bowl, whether you're a diehard, living and dying with every snap, or a casual, it's the food. Super Bowl Sunday is as much about stuffing your face with deep-fried delicacies as it is about the football. But the question is, which Super Bowl party foods reign supreme? Which items are you flocking to and hoarding, boxing out other people so that they can't get access to them? There's only one way to answer that, I realized, and that's with a draft. So without further ado, this is the Super Bowl Party Foods draft. We're making 12 picks total, snake-style draft, and Zach, you have the privilege of picking first.
Take salad, coward.
There will be no salad in my house.
Right.
I'm picking God's food. The number one, the 101, Super Bowl party. The worst day of your life doesn't matter. It's chicken wings. It's always chicken wings. It's always going to be chicken wings.
Okay, bone in or boneless?
Boneless chicken wings? No.
They don't exist.
Listen,
boneless
not
chicken wings
chicken
are not a
I can
real
tell
thing.
you, they're better.
They're not.
They're better.
Boneless chicken wings are not better.
Not to make this about boneless chicken wings, but they're better.
No, this is a
That's
terrible
one of the
take.
most
It's a
absurd take
terrible
I've
take
ever
by
heard in my
Will-
entire
Wilkie.
life. Yes.
Wow.
Hard X on that.
Boneless chicken wings are
stick-
not chicken wings.
Stick to football, Wilkie.
Very strong 101. Boone, you're on the clock.
I'm stunned by that pick. And don't get me wrong, I probably would have taken it second if you had taken what I'm about to take here. I think Zach, and I've told him this, has done a great job when he's filled in on the show. That is probably the worst take that you've had since you've been on the show here.
There's nothing else on the list.
It's, of course, pizza. Pizza is the go-to.
Yeah, it is.
Pizza is the only thing you need if you're going to get one item. Everybody loves pizza, meat lovers, vegetarians. You put it out, and you can order a ton of it It stays good for days.
Yeah.
It's got to be pizza here. That should have been the 101.
It's simply not pizza over chicken wings. So that's like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you like vanilla ice cream? Oh, that's it. That's the only kind of good ice cream out there. You got. I'm
Look,
only
it's
gonna
the
drink a
world's most
Coca-Cola.
popular food for a reason. All right, I was
tell you what,
praying it would drop to me at 3.
My move though is you get both. You make sure you get the wings saucy, and then you dip the pizza in the wing sauce. That's the move.
This guy's
like
guy's
that.
been to a Super Bowl before. See, man, I'm in a tough spot now because there's such an obvious 1 and 2 in this draft, and
Yeah,
now I'm
3's a
kind of
big
flailing
fall.
a little bit here at 3.
a big fall.
I'm gonna go with nachos. That's another like high floor foundational thing. You fill up your plate with that, and then augment with like something deep fried, something meat based. A steaming tray of nachos comes out, gets plopped down, and like you're gonna gravitate to that. Not to the same degree that you would with wings and pizza, but it's a very strong base, I think, for a Super Bowl plate. Nachos at 3.
Nachos is like drafting like Quentin Nelson. Like it's like, you know what I mean? It's not.
It's safe. It's a safe pick.
You know it's going to be an All Pro. Like it's going to
Maybe
put up.
it doesn't have the highest ceiling of all the foods that are going to be picked subsequently, but man, it has a high floor, I think.
Agreed.
I think that could have been the 101.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
Wow.
So you think
gotta
nachos
do
at
it
3
right.
was a steal?
I mean, if you put a good meat on, like if you put like a pulled pork on them,
Yeah.
I think it could be 101. So I think that was a steal. Speaking of steals, matzo sticks
Strong.
also could have been a 101.
I like matzo sticks.
It's just not. It's not foundational in the same way. You can't build a plate.
Yeah,
of
it's a
matzo.
contributor.
Yeah.
It's a contributor, not a star.
It's a role player.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a 32-year-old Cooper Cup.
Yeah, I think it's a first round pick in the sense that you could reasonably house like 20 of them and not even
true.
blink.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to have tonight for dinner, just 20 matzo.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you'll feel fine after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be fine for Sunday.
Yeah.
Take 2 recovery days. All right, snake style draft. You have another pick.
A little more unconventional here. I'm going to go with buffalo chicken dip.
All right, strong.
It depends on having someone that makes a good one. So to the
That is true.
person I know from college who got me onto that, thank you. You changed my life.
Wow.
But yeah, this is a slam dunk. It should have been a first round pick, but I'll take it at the top of the second.
It's very strong.
If this draft was what's the best food to bring to a Super Bowl party, it might be the buffalo chicken dip, because that's the one where like
Yeah,
when
that'll
you
make you the
walk
most
in with
popular
like
one,
the
yeah.
crock pot, people are like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
you brought the buffalo! Oh my!" Like you know, what I
You're the
mean?
Patrick
Like,
Mahomes
yeah,
of your
yeah,
hand.
yeah,
For sure. Okay, that's my pick. I'm going with jalapeno poppers. Got to have a little bit of spice in there, and like they're savory. You wrap them in bacon, forget about it. I could house like 20 of those. And then I think they make a really nice complement because like they're more tender, nice complement to the crispy nachos. I feel like I'm building out a pretty balanced plate here.
Are you making the jalapeno poppers or like?
No, I'm going to entrust that to someone better than myself. But I would. I'm like not opposed to it.
Yeah. Because there is like sometimes people will come with like they'll actually like make it out of the jalapenos, and then there's like the ones that are like in the frozen section, which
Those are
all-
still solid,
Both
too.
are good. Both
Yeah.
are good. Both are good.
Boone, back to you for the.
It's getting tougher. I really wanted that buffalo chicken dip, man. Oh, that's tough. I thought it was gonna fall through. I couldn't trade up for that one. I do have like a controversial pick that I think I can hold until the next round. I don't think anybody's going to take it, so we'll talk about that one there. I'm going to say pulled pork. You mentioned pulled pork.
Ooh.
I think pulled pork, but I'm talking about like pulled pork sandwiches. You could bring some full buns. You could bring some slider buns, whatever. You keep it in the slow cooker all day. It stays warm throughout the whole game.
Yeah,
You
it
can
does.
step up and grab it whenever. So pulled pork sandwiches.
The thing about the pulled pork is it's almost like injury prone. Like it's not reliable. Like you don't know that the pulled pork is going to be there. You know, like availability is the best ability. When I'm going to the Super Bowl party on Sunday, I'm not like for sure there's going to be pulled pork. I'm like for sure there's going to be pizza. For sure there's going to be chicken wings. Pulled pork, if it makes an appearance, it's a superstar, but it's not always there.
I have an incredible barbecue place near my house, and I've
It's
become
always
since
there.
I moved there 6-7 years ago. I am always getting pulled pork from there.
Zachy, you got 2 picks coming up.
All right, we got 2 picks coming up here. I'm going to have to go, again, this is a value pick. It's a little bit overshadowed, I think, by the buffalo chicken, but I'm going to go chips and guac.
Classic.
I love just a good guac. Just good. It's always good. Like not too much to say about it. I do want my guac to be really limey.
Yep.
I'd like
Gotta
for
be
there
acidic.
to be a lime around at least, or something like that to kind of control that myself. And then for the next pick, I'm going to take, this maybe is a personal thing, but I'm going to take the waffle fry. I think the waffle fry far clears over the regular fry. There's something about that, especially if you have like a good dip, some kind of aioli, some kind of chipotle mayo or something like that. The way that it absorbs them is just beautiful. I love the waffle fry.
I don't think I've ever seen that at a Super Bowl
I think that's a bit of a reach. I'm just not a waffle fry guy. Give me some shoestrings all day, McDonald's style.
The problem is if we have 3 different people in here, that might be the favorite pick. Like waffle fries are divisive. Yeah. No.
I think fries just like get in the way, kind of like
They're filler.
I only have
because they get cold.
What else do you want me to take it? There's nothing left.
Well, let's see. All right, Boone, what do you got?
Here's the controversial one. I know people aren't going to like this one, but hear me out. I am a big fan of blue cheese. And I'm not talking about like blue cheese at just any old grocery store. I'm talking about like the authentic Buffalo blue cheese, the good stuff. So I just need like a vehicle to get that into my mouth. And
that's what your fingers are for.
Well, you can use pizza, you can use chicken wings. I have at one point used a spoon and just had a thing of blue cheese. Got a lot of flack for that.
You're not welcome at that restaurant anymore.
But the best way to do it is let's throw some veggies out there. Let's get the carrots. Let's get the celery.
My guy drafted veggies.
There's a reason why that comes when you get wings. There's a reason why that comes. It pairs well with it, and it's the perfect way. Plus, we've mentioned all these foods that are terrible for us. This is just like, it gives like the appearance, the like fallacy of something healthy on your plate. So veggies, but specifically veggies with very good blue cheese.
The same man that says that chicken wings
does not exist at a Super Bowl party.
The same man that said chicken wings is my worst take of all time just took veggies and blue cheese at the Super Bowl
like the Trailblazers executive who's like defending. No, I think Sam Bowie's going to be really good.
I want to know the like metric tonnage of rotted vegetables that are going to be thrown out from the Super Bowl party.
You bring out that platter, it goes straight into the garbage. You know, like untouched. It looks the exact same, indistinguishable from when you bought it.
We got 2 more picks. I can't wait to see what's left here. We've gone waffle fries and veggies.
I'm going with another potato variant, but one that you really only see at special occasions like the Super Bowl. I'm going with potato skins, man. It's such an underrated option, but like they're always such a delight. You throw some bacon on there, you throw some chives, dip it in sour cream. It is truly a highlight. And like, yeah, where in the wild do you encounter potato skins? You never get them except for like on Super Bowl Sunday. And if you ever bring those, I'm housing like 4 of them.
You can even do those Buffalo style, which is
100%. They're versatile. Yeah, absolutely. Very adaptable.
That might be the Tom Brady of this draft right there. Getting that at pick 11.
Yeah.
Potato skins
That was an absolute steal.
Yeah.
All right, close out this draft. Wilk, what do you got 12th overall?
Well, getting this one with the last pick is going to make things like veggies, waffle fries, and guac look a little silly. But it's pigs in a blanket, man.
Nice.
Forever underrated. Just some tiny glizzies.
Yeah, tiny glizzies, big volume, but also like they never miss.
Yeah.
You know, very high floor.
Yeah.
You know, get some meat going to like all the carbs and all the deep fried potatoes and stuff like that. I love that.
Why didn't you take waffle fries? That was a terrible.
I don't know.
pick.
I don't know what you were thinking. Honestly,
really
like the tail end of the
Waffle
first
fries.
round, you guys kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I did not. I'm very happy with my team picking third with nachos, jalapeno poppers, and potato skins.
I wasted chicken wings. I waste that. That's like the first round draft pick that goes to the Jets.
It
you know what I mean?
raises
Zach,
your
who
team's
had the best
score
team?
so much.
Darnold.
Let's ask our producer who had the best team.
Zach, who has the best team?
Hell yeah, baby. Let's go.
He picked last, but he came out with the
go.
strongest team.
Here's the funniest part, though, and I guarantee if Wilkie goes to a Super Bowl party, he's only going to eat salad. I have been out with you in the last couple of years.
No.
You are a very healthy eater these days.
No.
Lean machine.
Just give me the matzo sticks.
That was great, fellas. I'm looking forward to eating any and all of these items on Sunday. It's sad that we won't be eating it together, but you know what? That's okay. All right. Time to put the potato skins down and get real, gentlemen. It's time to lay it on the line. Prediction time. Who's going to win Super Bowl 59? Who's going to be Super Bowl MVP? Wilk, you're up first.
I got the Chiefs. Like we said, the Eagles are the better team, but I don't think it matters. I think the Chiefs are probably going to win again. MVP. Obviously, Mahomes is the easy pick. I'm sure a number of you will do that. I like going a little off the board. I don't know how off the board this is, but I think that Chris Jones could really have a huge impact on this game, so I'm going to go with him.
All right. Zachy?
Yeah. I mean, also the Chiefs, like they're just better. I think my MVP pick, Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is going to win MVP. I think it's going to be like one of those, magical moments. The confetti's falling down. Travis Kelce gets MVP. Him and Taylor Swift are, whatever, making out, whatever they do. And it's going to be like a part of her songs or whatever. I don't know. I've never listened to them, so. But.
Yeah, on her next album's gonna be called Threepeat.
Threepeat, yeah. Borrowed from Pat Riley. She had to get the trademark, but
it's rarely a good thing when all the analysts pick the same team. But I got to go with the Chiefs. It's who I picked before the season. Like Josh Allen reiterated last week, you got to beat the champs to be the champs, and I don't see that happening yet. And if you look at the MVP, I got to go with the chalk Mahomes pick. Like you talk about all these, Chris Jones will have a huge impact on the game. How's he going to get the stats to actually be the MVP? I don't think it's going to happen, right? You look at Travis Kelce. If he has the stats, who's throwing him those passes? It's probably Mahomes. Like, it sucks that all these awards go to quarterbacks, but if the Chiefs win it, it's probably going to be Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a terribly impressive postseason, but I'm not going to be the dummy who doesn't pick Patrick Mahomes to win Super Bowl MVP. The Chiefs are my team from the preseason. I had them beating the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. That didn't pan out, but I'm happy to be half right. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs until someone beats them, and I don't see the Eagles beating them because they seem unbeatable. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and that brings us to trivia time, gentlemen. Only one thing left to do. Here we go. In the 21st century, so since 2000, only 10 players have racked up 135 or more yards from scrimmage in a Super Bowl. Name them. One more time. Since 2000, only 10 players have racked up 135 or more yards from scrimmage in a Super Bowl.
Wow.
Name them. And Boone, we'll give you first pick since you missed last week's episode.
Oh, geez. Okay. Should be so easy. Let's go Travis Kelce.
Wow.
Thanks for playing.
He didn't do it in any of those games.
Early exit for our boy Justin Boone.
Crazy.
Coming back off the DL last week. Coming back off IR.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
He's got to get back up to game speed. All right. Early exit for our man Boone. Wilk?
I don't want to go out right away. Julian Edelman?
Correct. Wow. Julian Edelman in 2018 in New England's win in a snoozer over the LA Rams. He had 149 yards from scrimmage. He was Super Bowl MVP that year. Correct.
Holy.
Zachy.
Okay, so what is it, over?
135 yards from scrimmage or more.
135 yards from scrimmage since 2000.
Since 2000, this century.
There's a name that I want to say. I'm trying to think of what are like super high scoring Super Bowls. The Eagles had that really high scoring Super Bowl. This name is sticking to me, but I know it's going to be wrong. Okay, I'm going to go with one that I don't think is going to be wrong.
Good strategy.
Give me Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh! Damn.
Wow.
Oh!
Incorrect. This was a very brief game. Yeah, a very sad
See if I have another for you.
Game. Make till you miss.
Okay. Terrell Owens. No, okay.
We're getting to the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel for questions here.
Yeah, I got a lot of miles on us.
I'm surprised at how...
What about Gronky?
Nope, no Gronk.
Wow.
I'm surprised at how unimpressive that collective performance was. I'm just going to give you the names.
Okay.
Because you guys have let me down. So in last year's Super Bowl, Christian McCaffrey had over 135 yards from scrimmage, 80 rushing yards, 80 receiving yards. Hello. 2020, against this very Kansas City Chiefs team, Leonard Fournette had over 135 yards from scrimmage.
People forget.
Playoff Lenny.
Lombardi Lenny. Then we also got Danny Amendola, 2017.
How can we forget
Why didn't you just guess all Patriots? I don't understand. Danny Amendola, 2017. James White, 2016. Jordy Nelson, 2010. One guy, the only guy to do it twice this century, Joseph Adai. People forget 2006 and 2009. 2005, Hines Ward. He was also Super Bowl MVP that year in Pittsburgh's win over Seattle. Then early 21st century, in the same game, Muhsin Muhammad and Deion Branch in the same Super Bowl. That was New England's win over Carolina. I think that was their second Super Bowl title.
I really
That
thought
is
the
the most
TO did it in the
ridiculous
game that
list
the
of
Eagles
players
lost.
I've ever heard in my entire life.
Hey, man.
Who could have forgotten Muhsin Muhammad and Joseph Adai's historic Super Bowl
that's a great
Absolutely
trivia question.
iconic performances.
I've also never seen Jonah so mad. He was.
Oh, you
he
guys
was
let me
pissed
down.
at
I
us.
can't even cut this into a clip because there's
Yeah,
only one correct
that's not
guess.
getting clipped for
It's a total
sure.
waste of time. Anyways, they did their best. We're doing our best. On Sunday, we're going to see the best of the best try to win the Lombardi Trophy. That's it for today's episode of No Timeouts. Once again, that's Justin Boone. That's Zach McDonald. That's Dan Wilkins. My name is Jonah Birenbaum. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll see you next time.